Hey, how's it going? Sunny again here. So today we're gonna cover a White Lion. Wait, uh, I did a lesson on the intro, and I'm gonna try to cover all the electric guitar part here in this lesson for the rhythm, and then I'll do another lesson on the solo and the rhythm behind the solo. So let's get started. But before we actually dive into the distortion intro part, and I made a couple minor mistakes in my first lesson on the intro. So I'm gonna go over that first, and then we're gonna dive into it. My guitar is tuned to standard tuning, so basically is 440, and the strings are just E, A, D, G, B, E. So let's get started. Okay, so before we move into the second intro part, I want to clear up on the two minor mistakes I made in my first video on the intro. On the acoustic clean part. So here's where I made the mistake. Where I slide from 7th fret down to 4th fret, in my first video, I didn't say pause. It just goes slide right down. But you need to pause. That would be wrong. You have to play like this. You gotta pause a second and slide down the 4th fret. And once you slide down the 4th fret, you'll play this inversion D chord, D major chord. But in my first video, I say to play the open high E string. That's the wrong note. You play the 2nd fret on the high E string. So basically, you play D4, B3, G2, and while your index finger bowing down, you play the 2nd fret on the E string. And the rest is the same. Okay. Okay, so now let's dive into the main riff. Once you finish playing the clean acoustic part and the distortion kick in, so that's the intro. The second intro comes in with the distortion. It goes like this. Okay, so that's the intro leading to the verse. The song is in the key of A major. So basically, you have three sharps. You have the C sharp, you have the F sharp, and the G sharp. But right now we are pivoting on the A string, open A string. So the chords are basically around surrounding the A note. So the first chord is just an A chord. So it's open A string, 7th fret on D, and 6th fret on a G. You play those three notes together, and then you have the A7th. So what I'm doing is I play the just two notes. You play D5 and G6, and then you lift up your index ring finger. You play D5 and index finger on G4. And put the ring finger back on 6th fret on the G string. Play that chord again. So. After I play that two chords, I kind of build the string a little bit. So, and I play this inversion of D chord. Basically, I have the D chord, but I play the major third of D as the first note on the D string. So instead of playing the 2nd fret on the high E string, which is F sharp, I'll play the F sharp on the D string on the 4th fret. So it's octave lower. So I'm playing the 4th fret on the D, G2, and B3. Okay? So the whole thing so far. And then you switch hand. You play this D, what do I call this? It's a D suspended 2 2nd chord. So basically play a D chord with the 2nd note added from the D scale. So basically you play the E note on top of the D as well. So and you also have the D minor. I'm sorry. So it's D minor with the second added. So what I have is here is D3. That's the minor third of D. So it's a D minor color to it. And then you got the second fret of G. That's your A note. And then you have the D note on the B string. Now what I'm saying that this added second is after you play that one chord, after you play the D3, G2, and B3, you gotta use your pinky. You played it on the 5th fret on the B string, and that will be your E note. E is the second note of D minor. So you're still playing the D3, and then second fret of G, but now you're changing your finger on the B string, and you play the E note, which is the 5th fret on the B string instead. So, and back down the same chord again, the D major with the D minor chord, and then kind of mute, and you open A string. Okay, so far we have this. You know, make sure you kind of mute it a little bit before you hit the open A string. Okay. After you play that one chord, you will do the mute thing 6 times, and after that you will play the A7th interval, which is the D5 and G6 one time, and palm mute on the A string twice, and then you play D5, G4 once, palm mute on the A string one time, and you play the A7 again, the D5 and G6 again one time, and palm mute twice on the A string. And you play that inversion of D chord with the F sharp on the lowest string. So basically you have the D4, G2, and B3. Okay, so far, so that second part will go as A. And after you play that, you let it rain out, and then you do the palm mute again 6 times. And then you play this a D minor chord, the D minor with the inversion again, with the minor third on the bottom, the lowest string. So you got your D3, second fret of G, and then your 3rd fret on the B string. So you play that one chord. So he does two inversions here. You got the D major inversion, and you got the D minor inversion. There's only one note difference on the D string. So you go D4 and D3. It's only one note different. So those are the 2 interesting chords that he does right there. All right, so that one part, let me go over again slowly. Go. Okay, so the whole thing together slowly goes like this. And after you finish playing that one chord, the D minor chord, and he'll play the single notes, and he'll play the low E string open, low E palm mute, also palm mute, low E, 3rd fret on the E, open A string, A3, A2, and then back to low E3, and then open A chord. And that would be open A string, 2nd fret on the D. Okay, and now we're going to the verse. So play the intro one time, regular speed. Alright, so now we get to the verse. Okay, in the verse, riff is going to go like this. So I'm just going to go from the end of the intro into the verse. So. Okay, saw single note. The low E string you palm mute. Actually, not all the time. Sometimes you do. So let's go over that. So after you play the open A chord, and you play the palm mute on the low E string, and then it's 4th fret on the A, and then palm mute twice on the low E string. Play the 4th fret on the A string and pull off 2nd fret, and 3rd fret on the E string, no palm mute. Kind of give it a vibrato. And then you play palm mute on the 3rd fret on the E string, and the 4th fret on the A string with no palm mute. And then you palm mute on the 3rd fret on the low E string twice, and then 4th fret on the A string twice, no palm mute. And then 2nd fret on the E string, no palm mute. So far with this. And the next part, palm mute on the 2nd fret, and the 5th fret on the A string, no palm mute. And then 2nd fret on the E string twice. And then 5th fret on the A string one time, and then 2nd fret on the A and 1st fret on the A. You gotta give it a vibrato on that one again. So far with this. And then A1, A3. Palm mute. I'm sorry, E1, E3. That was E1, E3. And then A2, A3. E3. And back to the A chord again. And you just repeat the whole thing again. So the whole thing again goes like this. So this faster sound like this. So now let's move on to the next part. Alright, so this is the variation of the verse riff, but then I was singing over the I Say Wait Just a Moment and Try Once Before. That part right there, he's still playing over the A7th, and the D chord, okay? And here's what the sound goes like this. So that's the first part. And I play a mute on the A set on the D7, and then you play D7 and 6th fret on the G together. And you kind of, after you play the D7 and G6, you palm mute on the D7 again, and then you play D7 and G4, and then you play D7 and G6 again. And then palm mute on the A string, and you play D5 and G4, and then you palm mute on the 5th fret on one time on the D string, and then D5 and G6. So far there. And then palm mute on the 5th fret, and then you play the D7 major inversion chord. So that would be D4, G2, and B3. Just like that. And then you play. And after you played it, this D major chord goes palm mute on the 4th fret on the D string, and then 2nd fret on the G and B together, and then you play G2 and B3, mute on the 4th fret one time, and then you play this D minor chord inversion now, which is the D3, G2, and B3. So far with this slowly. One more time slowly. I'm play it slower again so you can follow where I'm mute and where I'm not muting. And then you play the arpeggio. You stay on the D minor inversion chord. You palm mute all the string and you play just single note at a time. So D3, G2, B3, open E string, B3, 2nd fret on the G, 3rd fret on the D, and then play the open A chord again. You play the same riff again. So let me play again so far slowly, because there's a lot going on here with the muting and not binning. So you basically do that twice, what I just show you, okay? So if you play faster, go. Go from where we ended there and go into pre-chorus. I'll show you how it goes, all right? So it goes like this. Alright, so that's the pre-chorus. What I do is at the end, after you play the arpeggiated chord second time on a D minor inversion, after you play the 2nd fret on the G string, after you come back up, you kind of mute there for a second. What I do is I kind of hit the low E string one time, and I play this B chord. B power chord. So it's A2, D4, G4. And then you play this D minor motif here. You arpeggiate it up. So you play the D4 by itself, G4, and then B3, back to G4 again. So. And you play this chord right here. So what I'm doing is I play still a B minor chord. So you play open D A string, D4 with my middle finger, and then G6 with my pinky, and then B3 with my index finger, open E string, B3, G6, back to B3. So basically my finger doesn't change. I don't move. Once I get that chord set, I'll just stay at the chord. So you again, middle finger's on D4 and pinky's on G6 and index finger on B3. So you just play arpeggiated. You play an open E string after that. Or so far with this, the arpeggio part goes. You can kind of mute it slightly a little bit. And after you play the, you can play the open E string or play the E power chord together, however you want it. Sometimes I do one or the other. And then I'll play single note, which is 2-4-5 on the A, and then 7-5-4 on the A again, and then second fret on the A and open A string, and you play the B minor again. All right, so far we have this. The next part, basically playing F sharp major. What I'm doing is I play the use my ring finger and my pinky on the 4th fret on the D and G string. I play those 2 notes, and I lift up my pinky and I put my middle finger on the 2nd fret on the G string and play that 2 note together. And then you palm it on the 2nd fret on the E string with the index finger 5 times. So. And the last part you just play as 2 chord back and forth twice. And that goes into the chorus riff. So again, the pre-chorus riff goes like this together. Slowly. So let's break it down with a chorus. It's all arpeggiated notes, okay? So the first part, so that's basically a D chord at the 10th position, D bar chord. But just kind of break it up. You're just playing B10, G11, and D12. All right. So you kind of palm mute. So you go from B10, G11, D12, B10 again, and then G11, D12, back to B10, and quickly. And then you play this, and then you play this A arpeggio chord. So so your hand position is D11, and then G9, and your middle finger is on B10. So you do the same pattern. So you start from the B string, G string, D string, B, G, D. So far with this. So when you switch hand, make sure you play the 10th fret on the B string. You gotta hold it a little longer and quicker. So if you can hear it, that's where you need to accent that the B10. And then you use the same position, slide down the 8th fret. You basically do the same pattern. So you slide down the 8th fret, you play the B8, G7, D9, the same pattern. And then you play the 10th fret again on the B, hold it a little longer. Alright, so far with this. Now, second time you play it, after you play the one pattern, you play the low E string 3 and 2, and play open E string, open E chord. The next part is really weird because I did. So I'm playing D5, open G string, and B3 together. And I'll slide down my hand half step down while holding down D5 and B3. I'm sliding down to D4 and B2. While your G string, open G string, still ringing out. And then you mute on the A string, open A string quickly, play an A power chord. Okay? And then mute twice, down, up, and play the 3rd fret on the B string, and they play the 2nd fret on the B string, hammer on, pull off on the 3rd fret, and then play 2nd fret on the G, 2nd fret on the D. Alright. And after that, you play the same thing, you play the whole pattern again. So after you play that second time, you play this. What I'm doing is I'll play B10, G9, and then D11 twice. And they play B10 again, and D11. So you don't play the G9 on the second time, on the 3rd time. You just skip it and you play the D11. So again, it goes like this. Alright, and after you play that, you play the C chord. C power chord. So basically is A3, D5, and G5. And you play the open G chord. So what I'm doing is I use my index finger and place on the 3rd fret on the low E string, and my ring finger on the 3rd fret on the B string, and then play all the string together. At the same time, I have to use the bottom part of my index finger, the flash, and muting the A string. So I'm only hearing the low E string, the 3rd fret. The A string is blocked, is muted, so you can't hear it with my index finger. And then you got the open D, open G, 3rd fret on the B, and the open E string. Okay, so and after you play that, you gotta play just the strings. So you just play open G, B3, open G again, and then open E, B3, open G, open D. Alright, so far with this, that one part right there. And they play the B flat power chord at the first position, so you basically A1, D3, and G3. You play the F power chord after that, same hand, but you play the first fret on the low E strings there, and the open A power chord. And that goes to the solo. So let me play through the whole chorus for you one time slowly. So after the solo, it's going to go back to the pre-chorus riff again, right? So it goes, nothing changes there. Nothing changes there. It's exactly what I showed you before. And it goes to the chorus riff again. Exact same thing. So again, same thing. C chord, G, same thing as before, B, F chord. Now after you play the F chord, you don't go to the A chord because you're not playing the solo. So after that, you will play this chord right here. So what basically what the chords I'm playing is basically it's the same thing as the beginning part. It's the same pattern, but I'm just playing the chord instead. So what I'm playing is I play the D chord. Instead of playing the full D chord, I'm just playing the 7th fret of D, G, and B string together. And then you play the A chord, but instead of playing the full A bar chord, I'm just playing the A7. I'm sorry, D7. G6 and B5. And you play the same pattern, but the down whole step you play the 5th fret, which is a C chord, and a G chord. Same pattern, down whole step, 3rd fret this time, which is a B flat chord, and then F chord. So again. So the last 2 chords you actually kind of pause it. Kind of mute before you play the chord. And then after that it goes to, it's kind of like the intro, the acoustic part, but I play arpeggiated like this. So what I'm doing is I put my hand over D7, G6, and B5, and then I'll start from the open A string and play all those notes in the open E string together. Back up, and you lift up middle finger, so you get an open G string now. Play the same thing pattern. And you slide down and you play this D7 inversion. So I have D4, G2, B3, and my index finger holding down second fret on the high E string as well. So and then the D minor with the added second note. What I'm doing is D3, G2, B3, and open E string. So far with this. Slide down a little bit. Slow down when we play that D minor chord, and then speed up again. Same thing. And it ends like that. I forgot to make sure you play the open A chord when you play those. When you play a D chord, you gotta play the open A first. Open A again. Okay, but you ends on the low E string, on the high E string. So that's the whole song in terms of rhythm. Next video we're gonna cover the solo plus the chorus behind the solo.